Hello and welcome to another video with me, Sutekh of Mars. Now, as displayed by the title, we're going to be doing something a little different today. As you all know, I'm an exceedingly zealous collector of the 5-inch range of Doctor Who figures, and correspondingly I thought today we'd do a top 10 video of a certain attribute of my collection, and again, as depicted by the title, we're going to be doing top 10 Doctor figures. So, without further ado, let us begin. So at number 10 we have the jacketless 11th Doctor as released with the Dalek Scientist as one of the 2009 San Diego Comic-Con exclusives. So, as justification for my fondness for the figure, it's just that it's just so incongruous in the 11th Doctor figures that have been released over the last few years, because obviously all of the others are wearing the jacket. And I'm always one for slight variations in the costume that just make the figure minimally unique. And this figure here certainly does that. And the detail, as always, is wonderful. It's exquisitely sculpted and masterfully detailed, with the red braces and the red bow tie. Now, I purchased this a long while after 2009, singularly, accompanied by two other figures on eBay, since I'd already had the Dalek Scientist, and purchasing of the whole set would be both far too expensive and utterly superfluous. And I welcomed it so very much into the collection. In fact, I wasn't even expecting this. It was a surprise Christmas present that my mum had off eBay. It's a really nice figure, and particularly if you have the Angel Bob figure with the jacket accessory, it looks really marvellous with that. So yes, overall, a very unique figure, certainly an interesting one, and a glorious variation, and I'd very much recommend it. So at number 10, jacketless 11th Doctor. So at number 9 we have the 10th Doctor regenerated. Now, once again, I didn't purchase this figure when it was originally released. I purchased it quite recently, actually, last time I went to London Comic-Con. But once again, it was a very welcomed addition, and I am incredibly fond of all the regeneration figures. I don't know what it is, but just the concept of having a Doctor in a previous Doctor's clothing is just very interesting to me, and this figure is rather good. The detail and the sculpting is marvellous, and particularly the face sculpt, because obviously this is taken from the Christmas Invasion and the end of Parting of the Ways, and in the Christmas Invasion the Doctor stumbles out of the TARDIS after it's crashed into numerous apartments, and his hair, as you can see, is all dangling down, and so they've replicated that exceedingly well. It's a wonderful resemblance, very good sculpting, and it's just nice to have just sort of a replication of one of my favourite scenes from New Who, the 9th Doctor's regeneration, and the 10th Doctor's first appearance. So yes, glorious sculpt, marvellously done, and another regeneration figure, which I always like, replicating one of my favourite scenes. So at number 9 we have the 10th Doctor regenerated. And residing at the 8th position is the 3rd Doctor from Planet of the Daleks. Now, this was obviously released with the anti-reflecting lightwave Dalek as part of the Toys R Us Dalek Doctor 2-packs, and just like the vast majority of the 2-packs, this is an excellently done replication of the 3rd Doctor. Yes, the sculpt is quite marvellous, and from my perception at least, the most resembling of the 3rd Doctor of all the 3rd Doctor figures. The suit, again, is wonderfully replicated, and I'm not a particular fan of Planet of the Daleks, but the costume of the 3rd Doctor in the story I am, and they've done wonderfully well to replicate that, and it just looks aesthetically pleasing, indubitably, on my shelf. It really is one of the most prominent figures. So yes, it just looks wonderful. The sculpting is done brilliantly. I love the decoration and the detail on the cravat, and overall one of the best figures, let alone one of the best Doctor figures. So yes, at number 8 we have the 3rd Doctor as seen in Planet of the Daleks. And at number 7 we have the 6th Doctor as seen in Terror of the Vervoids. Now, I am a great admirer of the 6th Doctor figures, merely because of the irrefutable amount of workmanship that has to go into creating these figures, because obviously the 6th Doctor's costume is a thing of complexity, if nothing else. And And once again, like all of the Sixth Doctor figures, they've replicated every attribute excellently here. Well, I say every attribute. Obviously, the lapel here should be the normal pink, but I suppose they had to give it a little more variation compared to the other figures, so I can tolerate that. The detailing on the resculpt is done excellently well, as well as the cravat. The sculpt for Colin is marvellous as always, and it's just an exquisitely detailed figure that once again looks incredibly prominent on my shelves, and really just stand out as one of the greatest figures. So yes, number 7 we have the Sixth Doctor from Terror of the Vertebrates. In at number 6, it's the Sixth Doctor, as released as Wave 1 of the classic figures as seen in the story Attack of the Cybermen, as well as all of Season 22. Now once again, my admiration for the craftsmanship that goes into this figure is immeasurable. It's done excellently well. They've replicated every attribute really, really well. Particularly the coat, of course. The sculpt for Colin is exquisite, really does resemble Colin Baker. And just once again looks very protuberant and very, well, much like the Sixth Doctor, quite bumptious amongst the other figures. So yes, excellently detailed, and a very, very good figure indeed. Very much heralded in my collection. And at number 5, it is the Fourth Doctor from the Pyramids of Mars. Now, this was the first classic Doctor I ever purchased, and I remember finding it in Forbidden Planet, fortunately, and I was absolutely elated with my purchase. And for good vindication indeed, incontrovertible vindication. The detail is exquisite as always. The sculpt for Tom Baker is one of the best of any figure, let alone Doctors. It's so brilliant. It captured his maniacal smile excellently here. The scarf again is done wonderfully. The coat is replicated well along with the cravat. There are a few imperfections and inaccuracies here. Inaccuratesms, I should say. But I can pass those because it just looks so good. It looks masterful. It elates me to look at it. Such a wonderful figure. Brilliant sculpt. Wonderfully replicated. Fourth Doctor costume. And from one of my favourite stories of all time. So yes, at number 5 we have the Fourth Doctor from the Pyramids of Mars. At number 4 is the Sixth Doctor Regeneration figure, as released in about 2008, I'd say. Now, some figure collectors out there may find this somewhat of a spontaneous choice, may not have expected this, but I absolutely adore this figure. I love it so much. It's one of my favourite in my whole collection, let alone Doctors. And once again, the good justification. Let me begin by saying I adore Case Van Drezani. It is my second favourite classic serial, and definitely in the top 5 for my favourite episodes ever. It's just indubitably masterful. Glorious episode, irrefutably so. And the scene, the Fifth Doctor's regeneration scene, and the Sixth Doctor's first few lines, yeah, probably, is my favourite scene from all of the classic era. It's so marvellous, it's elating, brings a smile to my face, and just has me in absolute wonder at Colin's and Peter's performance. And to have a figure that replicates that scene, as well as the Twin Dilemma, but we all know I'm not a fan of that. But to have something that replicates that scene is so wonderful. And this figure does it excellently. Sure, the detail of the mud, etc., incarcerating his suit isn't quite accurate. Nonetheless, it just looks resplendent and really is reminiscent of that scene and wonderful to see. And obviously, in any case, I'm very much a fan of the Season 21 costume, and so I'd welcome any Season 21 costume, whether it be Peter or Colin. And obviously, I purchased this at London Comic Con after months of searching for it, so it holds an incomprehensibly heralded and special place in my heart. So yes, wonderfully detailed, so good to have something from the Case Van Drezani. At number 4, is it number 4? Yeah, number 4 we have the Sixth Doctor Regeneration figure. And in at number 3, if you can perceive it at all, because it doesn't show very well up on camera, is the 10th Doctor hologram, as released at Comic-Con in 2015, forgive me if I'm mistaken there. So yes, where to start with this figure? Whoever created this, the concept is just absolutely inspired. A hologram 10th Doctor, it just looks exquisite, it looks so unique. Utterly resplendent figure. The sculpt is done wonderfully, and it baffles me how they've done this, because it's done so exceedingly well. Yeah, I really don't know what to say, it's just so cool. It just looks so marvellous, and it's one of the very few Comic-Con exclusives I possess. It's just utterly unique, inspired, marvellous sculpt, such a bizarre figure, and I'm one for bizarrity and spontaneity. So good that it has to be in my top 5. So number 3, the wonderful 10th Doctor hologram. So in at number 2 is the 11th Doctor from Time of the Doctor. My apologies if the camera is shaking incessantly, but I really don't want to remove the Doctor from the TARDIS here because it's going to be a lot of hassle and I risk damaging all of the accessories and constituents. But anyway, at number 2 is the 11th Doctor from Time of the Doctor. Where to start with this figure? Sure, the price, it was somewhat pricey, nonetheless. The sheer massive accessories and the wonderful sculpture in this figure justified that price. It is a phenomenal figure. Three just masterfully done, executed impeccably sculpts. A really well done jacket of the 11th Doctor and a really good accessory of handles. I could provide innumerable attributes of this figure that really make it extraordinary. But that's the primary attributes. Wonderful plethora of accessories, all exquisitely sculpted. A really good approximation of the Doctor's Series 7B costume, and just an overall phenomenal figure. And at long last we've reached number 1. As you can see, at the number 1 position is the 4th Doctor as seen in Season 18. Once again, I am baffled where to start with this figure. Well, allow me to begin by saying I desired this figure for such a long while. I was incessantly surveying the internet, concurrently eBay and all other websites, just attempting to locate the dimension of this figure being exceedingly rare. And when all of my hopes had been seemingly irretrievably diminished, on Christmas Day, out of utter spontaneity, I had no idea, I opened a present to find this guy. I don't know how my mum managed to track him down, with K9 from Warrior's Gate, by the way, as it was released. And oh, it was just absolutely elating. I went and hugged her, my dad, I was so happy, incomprehensibly so, absolutely elated. And for good reason, because this figure is extraordinary. Yes, it was released preceding the release of the 5th Doctor Regeneration figure, which was the same costume, but even so, the detail remains, and it's just extraordinary. I love the Season 18 costume. It is my favourite of any Doctor, and to have it in figure form is wonderful. The detail is exquisite. The scarf, although not as complex as in seen on the screen, is approximated as well as possible, and really what contributes to my absolute fondness for this figure is the sculpt of the 4th Doctor. It's done exceedingly well. And obviously at this point in the show, the 4th Doctor's last season as the beloved Time Lord, he was somewhat ill throughout the majority of filming. He was starting to gain wrinkles and grey hair, and they've really taken that into account, and they've replicated the sculpt, his appearance wonderfully. So yes, absolutely resplendent sculpt, wonderful detailing on the costume, replicating my favourite Doctor costume, and just such a good figure, and my very favourite out of my entire collection. Not just Doctors, this is my favourite figure. I love it so very much. So yes, that concludes this video. I do hope you enjoyed. Leave suggestions in the comment section below to what the next top 10 figure video should be. And until the next time, I bid you adieu.